everyone and welcome to my true crime channel. Today I'm going to be doing a statement analysis and body language assessment of Caylee Anthony's mum, Cindy Anthony. Now this is going to be based on Cindy Anthony's testimony in court in 2011 in Florida in America, and this is regarding the disappearance and potential murder of her granddaughter, Caylee Anthony. Now, I'm not going to go into the complete backgrounds of this case, guys. I have already covered it in another one of my videos recently, so I hope you've enjoyed watching it. But basically what happened, it's an extremely sad story. What happened is in 2008, a 2-year-old girl went missing. She was later found dead around 6 or 7 months after she goes missing, and it's since been thought that either her mother, Caylee, had something to do with the death, or that potentially her grandparents, Cindy and George Anthony, were involved. So what I'm going to do is show you a clip of Cindy in court. Now, it is only a few minutes long, but it's regarding whether she looked up certain things on the internet, and I think it's an extremely interesting clip of the court case to show you. So I'm going to show you it now, and then I'm going to go back through it part by part and analyse what I can see and what I can hear.
Do you recall doing any types of searches that might include chloroform?
Yes. I started looking up chlorophyll, and then that prompted me to look up chloroform. I also ran a few other searches at the same time in March. Other things that we had in the house like acetone, hydrogen peroxide, rubbing alcohol. I did not search for self-defense.
Household weapons.
I did not search for household weapons.
Neck breaking.
There was a YouTube regarding a skateboarder, and I recall it saying a neck-breaking feat.
Were you home on March 17th between 1:43 and 1:55 p.m.?
If those computer entries were made, then I made them.
So it's your testimony today that it's possible that you were home on that day, even though your work records reflect something differently.
It's possible.
Did you type in to the search bar on Google how to make chloroform?
I recall typing in the word chloroform.
Is this something that you're recalling now that you've changed your medication since July of 2009?
In fact, I told you during my deposition in 2009 that I made those searches.
Did you do 84 searches for the effects of chlorophyll on your animals?
I didn't do 84 searches of anything.
So to start with, Cindy Anthony, Caylee Anthony's mum, and the missing or the deceased child, Caylee Anthony's grandmother, Cindy Anthony, is being asked whether she looked up chloroform on the internet on her home computer. So Cindy's answer to that question is that she started looking up chlorophyll, and that potentially led her on to look up chloroform.
Do you recall doing any types of searches that might include chloroform?
Yes. I started looking up chlorophyll, and then that prompted me to look up chloroform.
Now, it has long been believed that Caylee Anthony may have given her daughter chloroform to knock her out, and that could have potentially led or been part of her death. If it could be proven that Caylee had been looking up chloroform, she potentially would have been done for the murder, the premeditated murder of her daughter Caylee. But because her mum then claimed that she'd looked it up, it potentially did help Caylee get off the murder charge. Now, what's weird about this is that Cindy claimed this months down the line, and it wasn't claimed initially that she'd done the searches, so that's really quite strange. And I'm pretty sure if you are a fan of my channel and you've already been watching my videos, you might know what's coming. It's a red flag for Cindy. So I find it really weird that she didn't say sooner that she'd done these internet searches. To me, and it's just my humble opinion, guys, I could be wrong as always, but I think she made this up to cover for her daughter. It is known that she still speaks to her daughter, Caylee, but the father, George, does not. Since she claimed he abused her as a child, their relationship has completely deteriorated, and obviously if he didn't abuse her, then no wonder it deteriorated. If he did, that's awful. I have no proof whether it's true or not, and if it's true, like I said, it's horrific, and I really hope it isn't true. But we all know that she still communicates with her mum. She's still in touch with her mum. She still maintained a relationship with her mum over the last 13 years, but not with her dad. So to me, as a mother, I believe that Cindy wanted to cover for her daughter. I do. I'm sorry.
I also ran a few other searches at the same time in March. Other things that we had in the house like acetone, hydrogen peroxide, rubbing alcohol.
So Cindy then goes on to say that she ran another search for other items that they have in the house, like acetone and other sort of chemicals, In my opinion, I don't think she ran these searches. I think she's being deceptive. I hear things that make me think she's being deceptive. The fact that she had to say that she was looking up other household chemicals, maybe poisons, you know, to get rid of rats or to sort of something to do with animals and pests within the house, make it sound more plausible that she had looked up chloroform by mistake because she was looking up chlorophyll, not chloroform, and then it led her on to chloroform. Now, what's weird about this is there were some really weird internet searches done in the Anthony family home in Florida in America in the March of 2008. Now, what's weird is that Caylee goes missing. Alarm is raised about a month later, so that she's been missing for a month. So what's also weird as well is things will look up like something to do with breaking someone's neck, strangulation, suffocation, I think were looked up. Not only that, at the same time that these were looked up, someone logged onto a MySpace account, and it was known that Cindy didn't have a MySpace account. She set one up around 3 months after the date of these internet searches. So really, the only two people in that house that had MySpace accounts, in my opinion, were Caylee Anthony and her brother. Now, I don't know that her brother had an account, but we know Caylee did. So in my humble opinion, I think Caylee looked these things up. I find it weird that she did. Maybe she did plan to kill her daughter. It would lead you to believe that that's true from her internet searches. But I don't think for 1 minute here, not 1 minute, that Cindy Anthony made those internet searches. Cindy is then asked whether she looked up neck breaking, whether she looked up self-defense and some other horrific things. She denies all of these things, says she didn't look them up. Regarding the neck breaking, she says she recalls that there was some YouTube video she watched about a skateboarder and that neck breaking was part of the title. Now, that could all be true, but what I find weird about this is that Cindy Anthony is probably not that much older than my own mother. I can't see my own mum, no offence mum if you're watching, but I can't see my own mum watching a skateboard video on YouTube. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe my mum secretly loves watching skateboard videos and I just haven't got a clue about what my mum gets up to in her spare time. But I can't believe it for a minute that she was watching a skateboard video. More likely Caylee was watching it, or it could be that her brother was. I certainly don't think it was her. I detect deception here. Her face sort of looks quite stressed. Obviously, she's in a court case regarding the death of her granddaughter, potential involvement of her daughter in her granddaughter's death. Clearly going to be a stressful situation, but I detect deception mostly from her statements, but her body language leads me to believe that she's lying. She sort of is very hunched up and tense. If she was being open about the truth, she'd be more open like this and less like that. I do detect deception, and I personally don't think that Cindy Anthony ever looked up any of these things on their family computer.
I did not search for self-defense.
Household weapons,
I did not search for household weapons.
neck breaking,
There was a YouTube regarding a skateboarder, and I recall it saying a neck-breaking feat.
So I just want to go through this next part. She is asked by the person that's asking the questions in the court, were you home on March 17th between 1:43 p.m. and 1:55 p.m? And she says, if those computer entries were made, then I made them. So going back to that, you just say, yes, I was home then. I don't know why she needed to mention the computer entries. Obviously, she's being asked about them. But why not just say, yes, I was at home? Not if those computer entries were made then I made them. So not going, yes, I was definitely at home and, you know, then be asked the question. Or just say, yes, I was definitely at home and I definitely remember going on the internet. It was definitely me that looked up chloroform. Not if those computer entries were made, then I made them. I'm afraid I think we know what's coming here, guys. So a red flag for Cindy Anthony here, I'm afraid. I don't like the sound of that. It seems as though she's not being honest about the fact that she did the internet searches. I personally don't think that she did do the internet searches, and that's a big fat red flag. So the person then says to her, so it's your testimony today that it's possible that you were home on that day, even though your work records reflect something differently. So all Cindy says to that is quite short and sharp. It's possible. So in other words, it's possible I was home, but my work records show something different. It's possible. She doesn't want to elaborate and say that her work records could be wrong or there could be some mistake. She was definitely there. You'd even, you would remember it, I think, personally, especially if you're looking up things like that and you don't normally on the internet. So that's another red flag, I'm afraid. So red flags are flying for Cindy here, I'm afraid. It's sad to think that she is lying, but personally I think she's covering up for her daughter, pretending that she did these searches to try and stop Caylee from going down for murder.
Were you home on March 17th between 1:43 and 1:55 p.m.?
If those computer entries were made, then I made them.
So it's your testimony today that it's possible that you were home on that day, even though your work records reflect something differently.
It's possible.
After Cindy says it's possible, the person asking the question says, did you type into the search bar on Google how to make chloroform? Cindy says, and this is a bit dodgy here, I recall typing in the word chloroform. Now, where she says I recall, her voice almost breaks, almost as if she's upset at her lies, in my opinion. Now, the word recall is not the greatest word. Mostly people will say I remember looking up chloroform, or I did look up chloroform. I know that I looked up chloroform, not I recall. Now, I'm not saying everybody that uses the word recall is a liar, but often it is used by people that are being deceptive because they don't really want to fully say the truth. Well, because it isn't the truth, it isn't their truth. So they don't want to say, they don't want to be seen to be lying. So by saying, oh, well, I recall, it's more casual. It's not I remember. I recall. It's more casual. And to me, I detect deception there with the recall. And yet again, guys, sorry to say, it's another red flag for Cindy.
Did you type in to the search bar on Google how to make chloroform?
I recall typing in the word chloroform.
So the person asking the questions then says to Caylee Anthony, is this something that you're recalling now that you've changed your medication and since July of 2009? And then Cindy says, and by the way, at this point, she sort of moves her right shoulder towards the person asking the questions, and contempt flashes across her face around the mouth area. So she's not happy at this question, having a medication being brought up in the court, and whether, you know, she's changed her mind because of the medication. She's not happy. And she says, in fact, I told you during my disposition in 2009 that I made those searches. Now, the word those, the word those searches doesn't sit very well with me. Looking back at that, I told you during my disposition in 2009 that I made those searches. Now, you could have just said, I made those searches. I definitely know that I made those searches. I told you about it before. And it just doesn't make sense to me. It's not adding up. It's a bit of storytelling. She's trying to convince them. And personally, as I've said before, I really don't think that Caylee Anthony made those internet searches.
Is this something that you're recalling now that you've changed your medication since July of 2009?
In fact, I told you during my deposition in 2009 that I made those searches.
Now, the next thing that Caylee Anthony is asked is, did you do any searches for the effects of chlorophyll on your animals? And by that, I presume she means pets, maybe dogs, cats, guinea pigs, hamsters. She then says, Cindy, and there's a verbal tut. I don't think she means it to be a tut, as in a tut sort of displeasure, but there is a verbal tut at the start of the sentence, and like that. I didn't do any searches of anything. Now, that's the end of the bit that I want to analyse for you guys. But during this, on Cindy's body language, there's not much to note. She's obviously in a stand, in court. You can only see half of her body. In fact, you can only really see from here upwards. So hard to assess the body language, but you can do more of a facial assessment. I see contempt a lot. She keeps constant eye contact. Now, often people that are lying think that it's better to keep constant eye contact because the person they're speaking to will expect that. That's not always true. Often people that are telling the truth don't always maintain constant eye contact with the person that they're being interviewed or spoken to or asked questions by. The fact that she maintains it all the time, she does look nervous and tense. She's very much like this, very closed up. You can't see much of her hands during the time that she speaks. She seems very tense and stressed, which is obviously going to happen. She's in a court case regarding her missing granddaughter who died. Her daughter might have murdered her. It's horrific. It's horrible. So all of these emotions and body language signals and signs are to be expected. But what's not to be expected is for her to take the stand, promise, I'm presuming on a Bible, that she's going to swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth, but tells nothing but lies, in my opinion.
Did you do 84 searches for the effects of chlorophyll on your animals?
I didn't do 84 searches of anything.
So I have watched the entirety of the court case of Caylee Anthony back in 2011, her mum and her dad's testimonies, other testimonies of friends and other colleagues, people that knew her. Caylee decided not to take the stand herself, considering she's such a bad liar. I'm not surprised that she didn't. But I see deception and I hear deception from both of the parents. The dad is more of a strange character because there are meant to be rumours of abuse. Caylee claimed that he abused her as a child. If that's true, it's horrific. I hope he didn't do that. I hope it's not true. And if it is, it's no wonder that her life turned out to be such a mess if that's what happened in her childhood. Now, she could be lying. He's always denied it, George Anthony, so I'm just going to caveat that. I have no evidence of that happening, but I'm going to do another separate video on part of George's testimony where he is asked about the abuse claims to give you my thoughts and feelings on whether I detect deception from George. But I hope you've enjoyed today's assessment of Cindy. I do feel that she lied for her daughter. I do feel that she made all of these searches on the internet up to make it look like she had done them when I think Caylee had done them, because she knew that if Caylee was done for murder, all of these searches for chloroform and neck breaking and weapons and whatever else was looked up would point the finger at Caylee to be the guilty party. Now, what's most disturbing about this case, aside from the fact that a 2-year-old little girl lost her life, is that 13 years have passed since June of 2008 when she disappears and the alarm is raised. Her body was found in December 2008. So at the end of this year, it's going to have been 13 years since her body was found, which is awful. And no one's been brought to justice. I can't believe Caylee didn't get done for it. Now, she may not have done it. I don't know. I don't think she potentially killed her daughter on purpose. I think this could have been an accident that was covered up. But again, it's just my opinion, guys, so I know I could be wrong. But as always, I'd love to know your thoughts and views, so pop your comments below. Tell me what you think of Cindy. Do you think she lied for her daughter? Do you think she covered up these internet searches that were done by Caylee so that it looked like it was her to try and stop her daughter from going down for murder? Do you think she did do the searches and that I'm wrong? I'd love to know your thoughts either way. What do you think about this family? What do you think about the entire case? Do you think Caylee was involved? Do you think she's got guilty knowledge? I personally do, but I don't know what went on here. I don't think the grandmother Cindy was involved in the murder or any cover-up, but I do wonder whether the granddad George could have been. Again, guys, just my opinion. But it's such a complex case, and it's so sad that after all these years, Caylee Anthony has never got any justice. Well, anyway, guys, like I said, I'm going to do another video in the next week or two that covers George Anthony, part of his testimony in the court case. And then I'm going to do one more video, a separate video of the pair of them together in a media interview that they gave in the last couple of years. So it's more of a recent media interview. And I'm going to analyse their body language and statements from that. And I hope to have both of those videos out in the next couple of weeks. Well, anyway, guys, I hope you're all staying safe and keeping well. Thank you to all my new subscribers. I'm so happy that you've subscribed. Take care, guys. Stay safe. And I'll be back very soon with another true crime video. Bye for now.